Today on the Bandrew Says podcast, we'll be analyzing TikTok paying their creators $200 million and a whole lot more, so go ahead and stick around. Let's start with TikTok paying $200 million to creators for creating videos on their platform. Last week, TikTok put out a blog post discussing this new creator fund, and I will link that in the episode notes and show notes. And my understanding is that the fund is only going to be for US-based creators. They also need to be 18 years or older. They need to meet a subscriber or follower threshold, which they did not disclose. So we don't know what the threshold will actually be to become eligible for any kind of funds from this bucket of money. And you need to post original content that is in line with TikTok's guidelines, and the application process will open up in August. Here is an excerpt from the blog post, and it says, "To further support our creators, we're launching the TikTok Creator Fund to encourage those who dream of using their voice and creativity to spark inspirational careers. The U.S. fund will start with $200 million to help support ambitious creators who are seeking opportunities to foster a livelihood through their innovative content. The fund will be distributed over the coming year, and it is expected to grow over that time." And that is really all the information we have about this at this time. Let's discuss, should you apply for it? Sure, go for it. I don't care. Before you do, though, please make sure to read the fine print, the contractual obligations before signing it. I don't want you to sign a contract and get money and later find out that you have to jump through a hoop backwards while the hoop's on fire and your shoes are made out of sharks. I don't want you to have to do that. Please read the fine print and make sure you understand completely what you are signing up for if you do receive this funding. I will tell you why I never applied for grants from YouTube, why I never attempted to get funding from an external party. There is a classic saying that I think all creators should remember at all times. He or she who has the money makes the rules. If you get money from somebody, if you get money from a company, that gives them the opportunity to try to dictate what you're talking about, what you're creating, and what stances you can have publicly. Please just remember that. And I fully understand that regardless of whether or not you're getting money from a company that you're hosting your content on, you do still have to abide by their terms of service and their guidelines. However, if they give you money, that will just create a magnifying glass over what you are doing. They are going to be going over everything that you do with a fine-tooth comb. Because nowadays, if you get money from a company, that is viewed as that company endorsing everything that you say, every belief that you have, everything that you do. The company can look very bad if they fund you, if they give you money, and then you come out as some kind of disgusting racist. That will look bad on the company. So they are going to go over everything you do with a fine-tooth comb. If somebody gets outraged about you, that will look bad for the company. They will use that against the company. It creates the potential for a much more contentious situation that personally I would not want to be a part of, which is why I have not accepted money from any companies that might lead to that kind of not conflict of interest, but potential issues. I don't want a company having power over what I say, what I do, what type of videos I make. I don't want it. That is also why I don't accept a lot of free microphones from specific companies, because I don't want to get emails from those companies saying, "You need to make that video now. I want that video out now. Please make it now." I don't want emails like that. I will buy the gear. I will review it on my own time when I think it will fit on my channel the best. That is the best way, in my opinion, to function as a content creator. Try to limit the amount of people who have control over what you're doing, because it will remove so much joy from what you're doing if it is being dictated to you. If you do apply for this, please let me reiterate something for you. Diversify your income streams and make sure that you aren't being forced to be exclusive to TikTok. I won't go into depth here because I believe I have yelled about this 100 times over the last few weeks, but you also need to make sure that you have your own website, that has links to all of your social media, that aggregates the content that you are making, that has some exclusive content. If you're a TikTok creator, why not have a web page that you direct people to that has a list of all the gear that you have? You can make those affiliate links, make some behind-the-scenes content, some blooper reels, write some blog posts, share your guest spots on the website that you create to direct people to. All in all, in my opinion, the best way to function as a creator is to have as much control over the content that you're making, the income streams that you have, as you possibly can. I am done. I would not apply for this myself, but I like trying to be my own boss. I don't like being told what to do. I am an American, and I was just saying this the other night. America was based on the cultural idea of F you, do not tell me what to do. and maybe it's that I grew up listening to punk rock as well, but I really am on board with that idea. Don't tell me what to do. You're not my boss. But if somebody starts to pay me, well, now they kind of are my boss. I don't want that. I will link TikTok's blog post about this creator fund. If you want to read more, if you maybe want to apply for it, more power to you. And if you do get accepted and you have a copy of the contract, maybe send it over to me. I would love to read through that. Let's jump to a quick Twitter update. Twitter had come out last week, a week and a half ago, saying that only 9 accounts had their data downloaded during the big Bitcoin hack. Well, things have changed a little bit. On the 22nd of July, Twitter support released an update on Twitter stating, "We believe that for up to 36 of the 130 targeted accounts, the attackers accessed the DM inbox, including one elected official in the Netherlands. To date, we have no indication that any other former or current elected official had their DMs accessed." And that's the update. It seems as though the hack may have been a lot worse than Twitter had initially wanted us to believe. What a shocker, trying to limit damage to the corporation. Who would have thunk it? That is it for the news. Next, let's talk about what I have been testing, and you have been listening to it this entire time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. We have reached the apex of the mountaintop. We have reached the pinnacle. Nothing will be better than this, ever. Might as well quit right now. I am speaking into the Neumann U67 Reissue. Not the original, not a vintage U67, a U67 Reissue. This is one of the holy grail microphones. This is a tube condenser microphone. It does have limitations because it was originally designed in the 60s, if I am not mistaken. But I don't know how. It still sounds incredible. It still sounds amazing. How is it that something that was designed 50, 60 years ago still has an incredibly appealing sound signature? You would imagine that technology would have come far enough to yield a microphone designed over half a century ago useless. Alas, it is not. And that's what I am talking into. It is not cheap. It is not cheap. It is not cheap. I'm broke now. I have no money. But I think it sounds wonderful. I will do some processing to it. I'll do a high-pass filter, compressor, de-esser, all the fun stuff that I do. But let me know what you think of this microphone in the comments. Please tell me it sounds good. Please justify my purchases. Please. That is it for what I've been testing. Let's jump to what you had to say. And the first comment comes from Joe Jackson. They say, "Hey, Bandrew, I always enjoy your podcast and reviews. I noticed at 14 minutes you didn't mention that YouTube will also penalize your video and channel if you send them off platform. There is another reason to ask your viewers to comment below. Cheers, Joe." Joe, thank you very much for catching this. You are 100% correct here. This is another incredibly important aspect to getting into the YouTube algorithm's good favor. There are 2 things that I didn't mention last week. First one being view velocity. That is the performance of your video within the first hour. It is the algorithm getting information about how much your subscribers enjoy the video, and that determines how much they will promote your video to new people in the coming hours. That's not directly related to what we were discussing last week. However, I wanted to include that because I discussed view velocity maybe a month ago, and I could not remember the term view velocity. I wanted to include it to try to burn the term view velocity into my brain. View velocity is very important. View velocity is very important. The second thing, which is what you are bringing up, is watch session. YouTube wants people to stay on the platform. They want people to watch as many videos as is humanly possible, and that is where the term watch session comes into play. If your video is the first piece of content that somebody watches before they go on to watch 20 or 30 hours of videos on YouTube, the algorithm is going to be in love with you. The algorithm's eyes will turn from zeros and ones into hearts. It will be in love with you. Conversely, if your video is the last video that somebody watches before leaving the website, that will be a little bit of a ding on your video. A while back, maybe a year ago, I discussed the importance of if you are linking somebody off-site, meaning you are ending somebody's watch session, it is important that that is for a very good reason. At the time, I said one very good reason would be to make money. Are you linking somebody to an affiliate link? Are you going to get paid for that? Is it linking somebody to a class that you're selling? Those are very good reasons. But nowadays, things on social media have become so tumultuous, to say the very least. People are getting banned left and right. Entire platforms are being discussed on whether or not they should be banned. I think that ensuring that your audience is aware of your website is equally as important now as making money. Remind people, bandrewscott.com, bandrewscott.com, bandrewscott.com. But do not close this video tab. Go ahead and open a new tab and go to bandrewscott.com, bandrewscott.com, bandrewscott.com. Do you remember it yet? I think that is equally as important nowadays, considering how uncertain the future of so many social media platforms, or at least how uncertain so many people's futures on social media platforms really is. Joe, thank you very much for bringing that up. That is a very good point and something that most people should remember and consider when they are including calls to action in their videos. Next comment comes from JRiff, and they say, do you use some kind of teleprompter? Not using any or so is pretty amazing. JRiff, thank you so much for this comment. The cockles of my heart have been warmeth, and I am afloat with joy. My heart soars with the eagle's nest. Thank you so much. I do not use a teleprompter at all. The way I approach this is while I am creating the outline for my podcast episodes, I will get very thorough with my note-taking. I will write out what could be read as a script, but what I am really doing is trying to flush out my ideas so I know exactly what I am going to say. I know exactly the point that I am trying to make, and that eliminates a lot of need for me to stop and think and say, I don't know, I don't have to do that as much because I am fully aware of where I am trying to get to while I am speaking. I do still get hung up from time to time, and when that does happen, I won't sit there and think or say, I don't know what to say. I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I don't do that. But if I get lost in my thoughts, I don't know what I'm going to say next. I don't fill it with a bunch of filler words. I sit still, I shut up, I look at my outline, and I determine where I am going to go. For example, I need to think of something to say. I found what I am going to say now, and I will continue to talk. Then in post-production, I will edit out that pause, which is significantly easier than trying to edit out an and making that sound natural. That is very difficult. I opt to leave pauses because those are easy to work with. My heart went pitter-patter when you said, "You did not hear me say so," because that is one of my biggest crutch words, and I say that way too much. Last week, I made a very concerted effort to not say so. So, that filled my heart with joy. J-Riff, thank you very much for that comment. I appreciate you, and I hope that provided some insight and may help you in the future with your podcasts or your spoken word recordings. Best of luck to you. Next comment comes from Robert Johnson. They say, "Appreciate your Conspiracy Corner deep thinking, which raises some concerning and realistic possibilities. My only pushback would be that a shot across the bow serves as a warning threat when more significant subsequent harm can be inflicted. Doesn't exploiting this hack eliminate the possibility of it being repeatable, hopefully?" Robert, thank you very much for the comment. I think you raise a very interesting point, and I would like to believe that you are correct. I think it comes down to what actually happened, though. And this will be me getting a little bit more conspiratorial, so if that is your cup of tea, buckle up, Buttercup, we're going for a ride. We're not going to the Conspiracy Corner, though. Was this event, was this hack actually just social engineering, or is it possible that the people that allowed for this hack to occur were insiders? Had they been compromised? This is complete speculation on my behalf. Keep that in mind. This is a conspiracy theory. It's not based in reality. I don't know what actually happened. But what if the people that allowed for this hack to occur had been compromised and had intentionally provided that information to the hacker so that they were able to do that? If that is the case, I think it would be repeatable because there would be people, individuals in different corporations around the country, around the world, who may also be compromised, allowing for those companies and those social media sites to be hacked as well. It therefore could have been much less of a, "Look, we hacked Twitter, we own your accounts," and more of a, "Hey, we compromised people at Twitter. We're coming for you next." And I know my tinfoil hat is very thick at this point. That scares me quite a lot. And I am sure that other companies have taken actions and are starting to implement practices to ensure that this type of oversight may not occur at their company, but I think it may still be repeatable depending on what course of actions each individual company takes. I appreciate you pushing back, Robert. I am guessing you are correct. I like to take things to the conspiratorial side just because it's fun. I don't believe any of this conspiracy stuff, to be clear. Thank you very much, Robert. I appreciate you. Let's jump to the next comment, which comes from Christoph, and they say, "I would love for what you say about voting with money to be true, but oftentimes, even if something has a label made in the EU, in my case, the materials used for its production have a good chance of coming from China." Christoph, you are exactly right, and therein lies the challenge. It is seemingly inescapable that we are contributing to China no matter what we purchase. That is not the point that I am trying to make, because it is inescapable. If it's possible, I will buy a product that says made in the USA, made in Germany, made in Russia, etc., as opposed to assembled in the USA or assembled in Germany. Then if I have the option of buying assembled in the USA or assembled in the EU as opposed to made in China, I will go for assembled in the USA, assembled in the EU, etc. It's about attempting to limit the contribution to a government that is conducting severe human rights violations. That is the name of the game. I agree, it is inescapable, but that doesn't mean we can't try to limit what we are contributing to that government. And I do understand that it may seem a little bit silly to say, I am going to buy something that's assembled in the USA using all made in China parts. I understand that, but by doing that, if companies see the stuff that is assembled in the USA, the stuff that is made in the USA, the stuff that is made in the EU with actual regulation over labor and pollution and the environment, that stuff sells better. People want more of that. they will have no choice but to make stuff in that fashion because that is the type of product that people want. I understand it's not easy, it is more expensive, it is difficult, and it is not eliminating the problem, but it is a step in the right direction. If we show companies that we want products that are made ethically, that do not contribute to certain things, we need to show them with $1. And we can also write companies emails suggesting maybe don't make all of your products in China. Try making a product in Germany. Try making a product in the USA. Try making a product in Mexico. Try making products in countries that don't have such terrifying human rights records. I will buy it. Many people will buy it. We will give you money. And that may be the motivation that they need. Christoph, thank you very much for the email, or the comment rather. I agree completely. It is inescapable that we are going to be contributing to China, but that doesn't mean we can't do everything in our power to limit how much we are contributing to China. Next comment comes from Stefan, and they say, Horido, Bandrew, I think I pronounced that right. Your alter ego podcastage might get a problem reviewing microphones if you do not buy stuff from China, as a lot of the microphones today are produced/manufactured in China, maybe under control QS of the company, which name is attached to it. So what's your take on this? Regards. Stefan, very good question. Very, very difficult question. I have racked my brain on this topic for 2 weeks at this point. I have discussed it in the members only podcast. For those who are members of the Podcastage channel, I put it out yesterday. Here is the solution that I have come up with. I am going to be disclosing where everything is made to the best of my knowledge in the review. During the build quality portion of the videos, I will say, this was made in the USA. This was made in Latvia. This was made in China. This was assembled in the USA, meaning it is assembled in the USA using parts imported likely from China, etc. The reason I'm going this route is it does not shove my beliefs down viewers' throats, but if a viewer has the same concerns as me, it allows them to make the decision to buy stuff that is not being made in China. As far as the products that I review not being made in China, as I mentioned in the last comment, it is most likely impossible to buy any audio gear that is not touched by China. China is a manufacturing superpower. They control a majority of the manufacturing in the world, it seems. Even Mojave's MA1000, which is Mojave's flagship microphone, a tube condenser microphone that's supposed to sound like the Elam 251, it's $3,000. It has a Chinese-made capsule. Even the top-tier audio stuff includes components that are made in China. I am sure it's not because these companies want to use stuff that is made in China. I am sure that it is because that is the only place that these items are made anymore, that these components are made anymore. There needs to be a shift where companies start bringing that manufacturing back to countries that have regulations over labor, over environmental protection, etc. I think that is the important step. I don't know if we will get there, but I would love to see us get there. Additionally, I am not going to throw away or sell all the microphones that I have that are made in China. I have a boatload of mics that I have to review. A lot of them are made in China. I am going to review them. I am going to disclose made in China. When I am through with all of those, I am going to be much more specific and much more selective about what I review. I am going to try to limit the amount of microphones that I purchase that are made exclusively in China. Because, as we just discussed, many microphones may say made in the USA, made in the EU, assembled in the USA, assembled in Mexico, etc., but will contain components that are made in China. I am going to do my best to ensure that I limit the contributions that I am giving to China. And to be completely clear, this is not me criticizing the quality of products that are being manufactured in China, because a lot of products made in China are excellent. The capsule and the MA1000, the universal audio interfaces, made in China. Shure's products, a lot of them are made in China, and they are top-tier products. This has nothing to do with the quality of product being made in China. It also has nothing to do, this is not a criticism of Chinese citizens, of Chinese people. This has nothing to do with the citizens of that country. It's about an issue that I personally have with the government. Before I go any farther, I do want to include a quick disclaimer that the following portion will likely be more than a little bit political, and it will be a little bit dark and evil. So if you do not want to hear that, feel free to skip it. I don't judge you. I know I normally don't talk about politics, but I want to address something from last week's episode and share some thoughts on some current events that I think are very important to shed some light on. As I just mentioned, I have zero issue with Chinese citizens. I have zero issues with Chinese manufacturing. I simply have an issue with the political party that is in power in China at this time. I went back and listened to last week's episode, and I said something along the lines of, I won't say anything about the CCP. And when I listened back to that, I physically cringed at how disgusting it sounded, how awful it sounded, knowing what I believe is true about China, and I will elaborate on that. I immediately thought back to all of my friends having discussions after history class where we learned about what had gone on in Nazi Germany during World War II. With the Holocaust, with concentration camps, we all thought we would be the righteous person standing up for the Jewish people, fighting for their liberation, standing up against the political party. But when I listened back to last week's episode, I realized that I was wrong. I realized that I was lying to myself by saying that, by saying I would stand up. I would fight against the power. I'd fight against the evil political party that has taken over and is murdering people and doing evil things. I learned that about myself last week. I was wrong. I would not. And I want to rectify that because when I listened last week, I clearly had made the decision of I could say something about the atrocities going on in China, but I won't because I don't talk politics. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to tick anybody off. I don't want to throw something out there that's not on brand. I want to be safe. And I found that really disgusting. I physically recoiled at how much of a coward I sounded like. I'm aware of what is going on in China, and I just said, no big deal. It's not my place to say anything. Well, actually it is. Actually, it is my place to say something. It's in everybody's arena to say something about what is going on. It's everybody's opportunity to stand up and say, I don't support what you're doing. That is pretty fucking evil. You need to stop. I will start by saying this. The Chinese Communist Party are monsters. The people in power are monsters who are committing atrocities for political gain and increasing their standing in the world. If you don't know what is happening there, China has concentration camps, re-education camps, forced labor camps, whatever you want to call them, where they are forcing a group of people called the Uyghur Muslims into them. What is happening in those camps is they are being forced to work. They are being re-educated, whatever that means. There are videos of large groups of these Uyghur Muslims in prison outfits with their heads having been shaved. They are wearing blindfolds. They are on their knees. And then groups of them are being forced onto trains. That certainly brings back images from a time in the past during World War II, and it is incredibly troubling. You can find this video online. But where it gets even more disturbing is these Uyghur Muslims are not just being forced to work. They are not just being indoctrinated into a certain belief system. They are actually harvesting the organs of the people in these camps. They are murdering the people in these camps to harvest their organs because there is a lot of money in it for the CCP. That is where the atrocity level is at. And nobody is saying anything, nobody is doing anything about it, and it seems as though the entire world has turned a blind eye and instead just said, we'll ignore it, but thanks for the cheap products, thanks for the cheap labor, thanks for not having any concern for your environment. We won't pay attention to what you're the atrocities that you're committing, the murders that you're committing, the genocide that you're taking part in, thanks for the cheap products. And that is incredibly disturbing. It is incredibly disgusting. And that is why I have given so much thought to it over the last few weeks, because I was kind of unaware of how severe it had gotten there. And I think it's important for people to understand what is actually happening there so they can make an educated decision on what they want to do in terms of buying Chinese-made products. To be abundantly clear again, I want to make sure this is not misunderstood. I do not blame Chinese citizens for this. I do not believe that every product made in China utilizes these forced labor camps. I do not believe that is the case. I simply think that there is an atrocity that is currently occurring in China due to the CCP creating these camps. And if there's anything in my power that I am able to do, however small it may be, I am going to try to spend my money elsewhere so the CCP has less money. That's my stance on it, and I wanted to clarify that because I was disgusted at myself last week. It's not easy to come to the realization that when you were young and dumb, you thought I would be the righteous fighter for these people who are being massacred. And then you realize I was wrong. I was wrong. I guess I would have just sat idly by as these atrocities occurred. And that's not a fun thing to realize. I will go ahead and link articles on the camps in China down in the show notes and description. And I was going to do more stuff. I don't feel like recording anymore, so I'm going to end the show there. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you have an amazing week. And thank you for listening. I will talk to you next Sunday. Bye.